Welcome to another episode of Poker Time, everyone. This is the final hour of this session. There's already been 3 played out.
Buy.
Can we buy shares of
As you can see, Wheel is doing quite well with 3.9K in front of him.
Yep.
Max buying is 2,400, so things are good.
Indeed. Here's Nino. Just missed the hand. Oh, no, he did not miss the hand. I
He
take
just
it back.
came in and limped without looking.
It's the old blind limp.
He's got 7-3. It's not a good hand.
Well, it's a random hand.
Dan going to isolate the random hand, and Joe is going to
call.
continue to go on his quest. And looks like Wonka is going to cause some pain to these players here.
Looks like it. Out of position, already a bunch of players in. This is going to be a big, big number, I would think.
I'm going to say 200.
I'm going to go a little less.
It's like the lower the dance, the lower the dance. I'm trapping for what it's worth.
Like 180.
175.
175. Fine.
Yeah. So it's going to take a real hand now to stick around, and no one has one.
Fold.
Jesus Christ, damn star.
I'm going to let you off the hook.
I wish you would have limped that much.
Get it through. Get it through.
Fun.
Remind me to sit to your left next time.
Wonka makes about as easy $100 as you can make.
He would have liked a little action there, though.
He would have taken some action. But, you know, being handed $100 with no need to even see a flop isn't the end of the world.
Joe told him he was going to let him off the hook.
You
That
know,
was nice of Joe.
Joe with the 10 deuce. You know, once in a while, it would win.
It's won 2 World Series of Poker main events in a row in the past.
That
so-
we know of.
Yeah, that's true. What about the unrecorded histories?
Exactly.
The water in Portland is good anyway. So.
I'm sure 10 deuce has won other World Series of Poker events. There's been too many events. It's too famous a hand for it not to have won somewhere.
There's lead in there, and that's worse.
Fold, fold.
Where?
Fold.
Tap water?
Are they talking about the water quality?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's not listen in.
Hey, Digital Dan with Ace Queen.
The pH levels are not optimized.
in the school district, so that water is shitty.
Hey, anybody can sue anyone. The answer is, are you gonna prevail?
Just have your...
By the way, our new intern, Jimothy.
Wow.
I did do the research on Joe, and it turns out we were saying in earlier episodes that you were saying he was a lawyer. I was saying he's a restaurateur. It turns out he is a retired lawyer and now retired restaurateur. He went from lawyering to restaurateuring.
To retiree.
I believe he is now just fully retired, although, you know, Jimothy's not entirely reliable himself. So
Well, he is one of our interns, so
yeah.
we know
So
for
far,
sure.
so good, though. Jay?
Jimothy seems like a name that somebody would just make up on the spot.
It does.
It doesn't really sound like a real name.
I know. His parents must have really either had quite the sense of humor or just, you know, maybe culturally it made sense at the time. Bad card there for a wheel.
He does still have a gut shot.
Yep. But the deuce is no good, of course, if he hits that.
Dan should probably bet.
Yep.
Little value, little protection from diamonds.
Charge some of those draws. Now Dan is very likely to get good value here. Just has to dodge the 3.
It's a deuce, and
It's a sort of a scare card, but not really, right?
I mean, the only way Wheel has a 3 really is if it's ace-3 or 3-4 most of the time.
Yeah, I guess you could have 6-3. There's not many 3s here. Now that he's checked, I think Dan just really has to bet this. Hope to get value from basically exactly what Wheel has.
It would be a good spot for a check raise if you're Wheel, because
Yeah.
Dan doesn't have many 3s in his range or many 5s.
Correct. And especially when you block top full house. There's only one combo of aces full.
I would love to see a check raise here, but I don't think we're going to see it.
Wheel's got enough showdown value to call. That's the problem. You know, it's weird to turn top pair into a bluff in this spot. You're normally not going to see it, but it would be above the rim.
Like Air Bud.
I mean it.
You look like a decent foreman guy, you know?
I told you.
It's a pretty reasonable spot to call.
But then, yeah, that's how he says, like, midnight specials. So.
He blocks multiple full houses.
He does.
I just...
What was it? Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Dan could be bluffing here, though. The diamond's missed.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
He does call. It's reasonable. Gets the bad news.
Sadness. The sadness of the Wheel.
Oh, he shows also. He's like, if that 5 wasn't paired, buddy.
You'd be dead.
I would break you.
Like Bane broke Batman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at you with the cultural reference, sort of. Nice.
You want some culture? I'll
do.
give you some culture.
I do.
Airbud culture, because we briefly mentioned Airbud there, of course.
You did,
Everybody's,
yes.
Everybody's been waiting to talk about Airbud. Dog was actually the third choice of animal
Oh, yeah?
for Airbud. Yeah, the original Airbud was iguana.
Yeah. That
They
makes
found
sense.
that iguanas are kind of dicks and tough to work with.
Yeah. Everyone
So,
knows that.
Haley,
Now,
Haley
I
Joel
guess.
Osment or whoever it was who was starring
Oh,
with,
it was Haley Joel Osment.
with the iguana.
Yeah.
He just got so tired of the incessant demands of the iguana. Certain types of cereal on set, all these things.
So they just had to do a lot of refilming, I guess.
They nixed the iguana.
A lot of
I'll tell you
reshoots.
about the second animal later.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that could be a exciting thing
Nice
for us. Here's
teaser-
Luca
nice
with Ace
teaser
Jack.
for you guys.
You owe me 225 of this.
Call?
Nino's going to call, and Joe, of course, is not going to fold. Joe, of course, our VPIP leader here, going for the all-time VPIP. We're pretty sure he's going to get it.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's at 72% last
Yeah.
we checked, and I think that would win for a full session
Yeah,
of poker
I'm sure
time.
it would. Nino flops the nut flush draw. Checks to Luca. Will Luca fire here? This is a pretty good board to fire on if you're Luca.
Mostly protection.
He decides to just check it back, though.
Luca makes his flush.
Just like that. Luca's there. By the way,
Well,
Joe is
I
now
said
open-ended.
I said Luca. I meant Nino, of course.
Yeah. Joe's open-ended, and I don't know if you decide to play 5-4
Well,
off.
Nino bet 200 into
Oh, he
155, so
did.
that might end that speculation.
Yeah, good fold by Joe.
The nuts?
Not the nuts, Nino, I'm afraid, but
Close enough.
it's a very good hand.
Nobody hit anything, I guess.
Oh, Nino bet huge.
Both get frisky again and trap
I was
poker.
going to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if somebody else had a worse flush, that's
Yeah.
max value right
No
there.
question. They're going to call they're definitely going to call at least once, right?
And look at the horrible session Digital Dan is having. He's played many sessions of Poker Time. I think this is the worst I've seen him do.
I think so. Everyone else is either doing pretty well or fine. No
They're-
one's down very much except for that guy right there.
He's like the humpback whale that dies in the ocean and then floats to the bottom of the sea, and then all of the creatures kind of eat off of him for a month and a half. That's Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Dan. Dead Whale Dan.
That's his new nickname.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Can we put that up?
Look, this
Jim
is
it-
a good
Jim
one.
it-
Send somebody to break.
He's not even paying attention.
You know why?
He's watching some reality show.
Do you know
I think.
why? It's because he's a little upset that you have been calling him Jimothy, because that's not his real name.
He's Jimothy to me,
Snap call.
and now to you, and now to the audience. So it basically is his name.
Hey, check it out. Joe's bluffing now with 8 high. Nino's got an ace.
Yep.
And that's going to make it tough for Joe to get a bluff through.
Really tough after Nino's already called once. Joe does check back.
There's my deuce.
100.
And is that Nino betting $100? Joe cannot
Yeah.
call, of course.
Want to pick a card? Phil?
Ace two.
Joe shakes his head at Nino in the way that you would shake your head at somebody you don't like very much.
I think Joe is just aware that he was bluffing and it didn't work. He knows he's losing to a full house one way or another.
That's why I lose the most with second nuts. I'm just playing them.
Dead whale Dan.
Yeah.
He's going to love that.
Oh, for sure. Change his Facebook page. Just like he changed his shirt.
He didn't.
Well,
mean,
but-
between
he
sessions.
changes his shirt, at least once a day.
Hey, Joe's got a legitimate hand right here.
Yes, he does. Whoa, and he sizes it up.
Makes
to
it 60. It's a little loose for +1, but still legitimate.
But guess what? He's running into it here with Wonka. Wonka's only decision is, what the hell is Joe doing here? Why is it 60? He's still going to have to raise that.
Joe's
isn't
been
he?
making it 60 a little bit. As the
Oh,
session
Wonka's going to
goes.
just call. This is interesting.
I think when Joe makes it 60, it's a great time if you're going to mix in some just calls to just call, because it's
Yeah.
going to knock out a lot of the riffraff anyway.
It is. You get to be at position anyway. It also, by the way, invites some squeezes that might not otherwise
Well-
be there when you call.
It invited a slightly riffraffy hand here with Luca. 60 is a bit much for 10-9 suited in this position, you would think, but
They're deep.
Luca thinks there's a lot of money to be made here.
He's also got position on both players. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Just kind of sucks if somebody 3-bets behind.
Yep. Like Wonka's sort of rooting for a 3-bet behind, I think.
Still scary, but yeah.
Yeah, but he knows that it's going to be wider than normal, I think, especially now that Luca's called. But as you see.
I think it was a good hand at the end.
No 3-bets a coming, and now Wonka's going to have to play this. He's way ahead. He's got 69% equity 3-ways. That's hard to do. And he's flopped the nuts.
And Joe's betting into him, it looks like.
Well, he hasn't yet, but I would expect him to. This is the kind of board you could definitely bet as Joe.
Yeah, it's pretty dry.
He does have 2 back doors.
Goes ahead and checks
Oh, he
it.
checks it.
Wonka is in a spot where it's like, well, I love life, but I don't know what's the right decision here.
I mean, Wonka blocks most things that can really call, except obviously draws can call. But if he bets too much, the gut shots aren't even going to call. Luca really doesn't have 4-5 very often. So it's really diamonds or nothing. If he checks, Luca's going to bet diamonds anyway, a lot of the time.
And Wonka is very disappointed with the outcome of that. That Jack of Hearts
Well-
is an incredible card for Joe.
Well, this could end up being quite the story. Will Wonka raise or just call is the question.
By the way, Luca's open-ended, too.
Holy.
So Joe's made the gut shot with the flush draw. Luca's open-ended, and Wonka has the nuts set right
What
here.
an insane card. If Wonka just calls, he might just be walking into a pit of vipers.
Can I get some music here?
Pit of vipers.
Sure. It looks like he is going to raise it. Luca is not thrilled with that.
Yeah, he was definitely going to call or raise, but now I think Luca must leave this hand behind.
Unless he wants to just re-raise right now. I don't think calling is really an option anymore.
It is weird when Wonka raises now.
Yep.
After checking the flop, you're like, what do you have, buddy?
It's really hard to come
Set
up
of
with.
queens is really the only thing that makes sense.
I mean, set of jacks makes sense. But neither of those really make that much sense anyway. You'd expect him to 3-bet with those a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I think that's what took Luca so long here. He was thinking maybe I can actually just raise and win. But
it's 250 to win 645 here for Joe, and he's got the combo draw. It's not the best combo draw that's ever existed.
I mean, but Wonka almost never has ace king or king 9, so the 10 is usually good for you.
well,
that
it's
is not a good card.
8 of diamonds. Wonka doesn't like to see that card. And by the way, Luca would have made a straight, and you
Yep.
see him put the chips on a little sadly.
He's pretty unhappy with that.
The diamonds did come in, which would be a little scary for the straight.
Sure. Luca would have gotten paid also, I think.
So the heart draw is a lot more likely for Joe than the diamond draw because he didn't bet the
Yes.
flop. So Wonka can probably bet this profitably.
I think absolutely he can bet this. 9-10 comes in also, but Joe's just going to bet a lot of the time when he gets there. And also, like you said, diamonds would have been bet usually by Joe on the flop. And by the way, Joe would have probably bet the turn if he had 9-10 because it checked through on the flop.
Well, I mean, Joe did turn an amazing card, and he did
He
bet.
did bet.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, he did bet. You're right. My bad. So he can have 9-10, I guess. But Wonka just feels like he's got to go for value.
And Joe knows the 8 is no good.
Yeah. And Luca, look at the disgust.
Like that river?
No.
Luca's like, screw you, man. Don't talk to me.
Wonka saw it, though. He saw the pain in Luca's face. Luca's like, well, that's $1,000 I'm never going to see.
Yep. Well, we can see it right next to him in Wonka's stack.
And at least Luca only put $60 in. you
Yeah.
know? And that was a good fold at the time.
Definitely the correct fold.
Yeah.
You up your mic?
Luca had only 6 outs.
Fold. 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 Fold.
Nino's got a real hand. And he's stopped the limping parade. He's taken a
60 again.
page from Joe's book and making it 60.
Yeah,
That's gonna
this is
take it down.
the new thing.
The new
60. The new thing, yeah. That's a reference to a book.
Great. So is everything, man. There's so many books.
a lot of words written.
I'm writing a book on the history of Airbud, by the way. So I'll reveal the second animal that they wanted to be after iguana didn't work out.
Okay.
Slow loris, which is a marsupial from Asia.
Yeah.
And you would think, Grant, I know why it didn't work out, because there are lots of animal rights activists who think Solorises can't be in captivity, they actually die younger in captivity. But no, that's not the reason. It's because it's actually quite slow, and Airbud is supposed to be an athlete.
It's weird that they would even cast a slow loris in that role, considering it's right there in the name, you know?
Yeah, you would think, but the thing is, they're so damn cute. They're
Yeah.
like, that's going to overcome everything.
Yeah.
More cute than you, though.
Elbow with ace 10 suited,
You know why?
and Digital Dan's going to play.
Whoa, you can
But can you imagine?
Why? Why Digital Dan?
cards.
Can you imagine the world where Airbud was a slow loris? What a wonderful world that would be.
I wonder how many of our viewers know what Airbud is without having
Oh,
already
a lot of
looked it
them
up.
do.
Not a whole lot of anything. Dan flops bottom pair.
Joe's
Two
gonna-
backdoors for. Oh my goodness, Joe.
He's just leading into the world here.
Kind of surprised. Maybe they will with this poker.
That's interesting.
Just taking a shot.
I was gonna say, is that from his grandma?
This could work.
Got
I mean,
a high likelihood of success. Is Dan supposed to call here? I
I
mean,
see Joe wearing those. I know you.
he might just be thinking, what in the world could Joe have?
It's more Joe style.
Like open ender.
I know he does. I know.
Maybe he's just seen Joe donk enough.
we've seen Joe donk with top and middle pair before, which is problematic for Dan here.
We have. That is a pretty good card actually for Dan.
Look out. I need
Now
the
that
water.
shouldn't help Joe, and Joe does check it back. 10 on the river. I think if I'm Dan, I'm supposed to bluff here, right? Because I'd be worried about queen 10 and 10-8.
Yeah. Elwood would have backdoored 2 pair, by the way.
Oh, yeah. One pair would have been enough, but yeah. Dan checks.
And Joe is repping Jack 10 mostly here when he bets.
Jack 10 makes sense.
I don't think Dan can call.
I don't think he can either. This is a brutal board.
9-10 also if Joe would have donked middle pair, which I think Joe might have. And Dan lets it go.
Check deuce.
Good for the game, right?
Just over 14K in the pot. The turn is the 4 of diamonds.
Hey, what is that? Speaking of turn, coming around the mountain? Is
Oh.
that the Nitrogen Sports Poker train?
I think they did buy a train recently.
If you listen, you can hear its very familiar jingle. And choo-choo. Wait, there's the jingle. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
Wow, that's the weirdest ad ever all of a sudden. Anyway, Nitrogen Sports Poker Room is, they let us do ads like this.
They do.
Perhaps because they don't listen to them.
Free reign, baby. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
And they're still discussing the bluff Joe just made on Dan.
Sure. He showed it. That always makes it a little tastier, a little spicier for the table.
Everybody wants to just shove it in Dan's face.
Like the honest assessment.
Makes sense to me.
Because, he's the dead whale.
Yeah. Everyone feeds off him.
His pain is what they feed off, not his money.
I lost. It was wrong.
feel like I'm
do
at
it
work.
again.
Digital Dan may look like he's tilting, but he's got a real hand.
It's a nice hand.
A lot of that.
It's like,
With
I
the
thought it was
honest
5 cards there. I was like,
self-assessment.
I
It was,
know.
it was
Just
wrong.
wish I
I'm
didn't
going
get
to
caught.
jail. Just wish it turned out different. It was wrong. I'm going to jail, but I would do it again.
Just going to do your favorite action with ace-9 offsuit, especially in the small blind when the button opens.
Yeah, just calling's great.
Just
wonderful.
calling.
Disagree with that play.
Yeah. We know. Top pair for Dan, nothing for Joe.
This should just end things. But Joe gets sticky.
Did you check?
Not that time.
The dealer check.
You know how disappointed the producers were when they realized they had to use a freaking golden retriever for Airbud?
Why? Everyone loves golden retrievers.
Yeah, but they're trying to be like avant-garde and different, and they're like, wow, we're just going to be the golden retriever guys. Great. Sign me up for my Disney fairy princess ride subscription every year or something.
That's really not a thing that exists.
No, it's not.
Pretty sure. A fairy princess ride subscription
Eventually it'll exist.
every month.
You get one.
All right, here's Nino with 10-9 off. He's back to the limping. Elwood's got ace-3 off in limps. Okay, that's unusual.
He may think Nino's playing too many hands or is about to go nuts or something and just wants to be in position against Nino with reasonable hands.
Ace-3 off with
I
the
don't
whole
know.
world behind him. That is not reasonable. If he thinks that, he should be raising and isolating Nino.
Yep, I agree.
Wonka's the only guy with a true hand here. By the way, Joe called the button with 10 deuce off.
Yeah, Joe. That guy's retired.
I think. Elwood flops best.
And nobody else flops a damn thing.
Are you in the hand?
No, because I need
Nino is the biggest diamond for backdoor 9 high flush.
I'm not worried about your hand. I know what you got.
30.
What do you mean you know what I got? You shouldn't know what I got.
Look at Wonka with those sunglasses.
He looks
It's like Neo.
No, he looks like Leon the Professional.
He does, actually. That's pretty good.
Natalie Portman.
Matilda. My flower.
I want a diamond draw, but I don't think I can
My
call.
plant.
I'll show you if you fold.
I don't care. I'm not folding right now. I was trapping Joe over there.
Trapping, says Nino.
No idea what that was, but that's okay. Part of poker is you don't always understand what other people are doing, you know? That's both where the mystery and the profit lie.
Wow.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Thanks. So coming back to this airboat,
Oh, check it out.
74%.
Sorry, continue.
No. Let's spend a little time on this.
25% fee.
Elwood at 41%. By the way, the guy who was the tightest player in the game last time he was here.
Yeah, Elwood.
41%. Nino's
Seven-
now just playing every hand, it looks like.
Nino was trying to catch up, but there's not enough time. I don't think you can catch Joe at this point.
It's going to be tough. He's a solid like 35, 40% behind him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There may literally not be enough hands, and if there are, it doesn't matter because Joe's going to play them all anyway.
Yeah. But like, if Joe folded every hand from here on out, and Nino played every hand, would Nino pass Joe in VPIP? That's the question. Probably. Maybe not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. As you said, we're never going to know. Joe's going to play a lot of hands.
Yeah, that is accurate. You can set your clock to it, which doesn't fully make sense.
Joe flops best.
Yeah, no queens out there. No draws either.
So Wonka, by the way, limped the button with ace-10 off after a few limpers. Specifically, Nino and Joe as limpers. I'm kind of surprised he decided not to raise it up. But I guess he's trying to mix it up a little bit. That's all I got.
Yeah, it seems like a raise spot.
Normally he would.
Teeth. I gotta tell him that there's somebody here that said that he learned how to play with
I
a
told him-
combination of
I told him.
me and
Oh,
Batiste.
I didn't tell him that part. I told him it was him. I told him a few weeks ago. He just kind of stared at me.
Did you hear that story?
Go ahead.
Joe was just saying he told Batiste, another Poker Time regular, a couple weeks ago that he learned to play through a combination of watching Wonka and watching Batiste, and Batiste just stared at him. That's a great story.
That is quite good. Digital Dan with the good hand, an actual hand to play.
Raise 35.
Joe will play this hand.
Well, it's suited. It's got a deuce in it. It's kind of automatic.
All right, we'll play a hand.
A hand.
Joe's so happy. I like watching. how
Yeah,
happy.
he's a super nice, friendly guy and doesn't seem to get down at any point. Luca with the 8-6 off on the button. Luca getting a little looser here. Wheel folds the ace-9, and Nino's got the jack-3 off. Not a pretty hand. Nino's been playing so tight in the first hour with the pre-flop stuff. But now he's playing the jack-3 off. Now, admittedly, he's closing the action.
Yeah.
For the pros.
Still, it's jack-3 off, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's not crazy.
There's some good flops.
Of course there are. And as it turns out, he actually has the best hand.
He flops a gut shot. Dan flops a pair and a gut shot.
Joe
and
flops a pair and a gut shot.
And Luca flops top pair.
Wow. Something for everybody.
Not really a cooler, but something for
No.
everybody. Dan's going to continue. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Probably
there's-
has to call a raise. I don't think he's going to get raised. But if
No.
if there were, he'd probably have to call with this hand.
I think he would. I don't think he can just fold this hand, especially with the backdoor flush draw as well.
I don't think Joe can fold his hand for the same reason.
I would expect Joe to call. Joe sometimes has the best hand. He certainly has ways to win, even if he doesn't. Luca's got top pair. Would seem a little absurd to just throw it away.
It would be nice to have a draw with it or something.
It
you know?
would be really nice, but he gets to be on the button, which helps a little bit. And Nino,
Whoa! Nino just raised.
that's $500. That's
He just
a
makes it
huge raise
500. Wow.
with the gutter.
Jeez. Does he
Okay.
think he has a combo draw?
Well, in fairness, everyone's kind of weak. This
Now-
might just get through.
I said Dan's going to have to call a raise, but I didn't think it would be a raise to 500.
Oh, this is a humongous raise. Yeah, now I don't expect Dan to call. How can Dan call?
10 seconds.
There goes one of those time extension cards. That gives him an extra 30 seconds.
Is Dan considering a raise or a fold or a call? What do you think he's thinking about?
He should be considering all three. And probably call is the one thing he should be considering the least, I would think.
With stack to pot ratio, you think it's kind of like a go with it or fold thing?
Probably when Nino makes it this much. Also, what does Nino really have when he makes it 500?
I mean, he could have a straight, he could have a set, but would he make
So
it? Would he make it
much.
this big? Is
It's
the
just
question.
that number is so big.
He would be afraid of chasing away his action. You would think.
That's what you would imagine. It must be what Dan's thinking about. I don't know what else he could be thinking about. If he thought Nino only had value, he would have already folded.
Dan moves all
he
in.
goes all in. What a play!
And this is just going to end the hand.
Yeah.
There's nothing Nino
Those
can
two
do.
guys fold. Nino's got jack high. Wow.
One last look. Goodbye to the cards.
Oh, he calls. Nino called.
calls.
Holy
So bad all day long. So
moly. Wow. This pot is huge. That's a backdoor flush draw for Dan. Killed another out for Nino.
And Dan makes a flush.
But
Didn't
he
need
didn't
it.
need it. He just needed to break out.
Nice hand, Dan.
how can you call?
I didn't. I shoved. That question goes to you.
I raised.
It's true.
18, 45.
Look at Chris and Elwood just trying to like not react.
Yeah.
Dan also trying to not engage Nino, who seems a little bit upset.
Dan, to give it to him a little bit when Nino said, "How can you call?" and Dan said, "I didn't." That question goes to you. Dan fights back a little bit there.
I am shocked that Nino called.
That was surprising to me.
He could beat 7-8, I guess.
Yep. His jack was good if he hit it. That's something. He
And-
actually had 7 outs.
But geez,
six outs. I
that
should
was
say.
a very high variance way to play the Jack 3
No
there
question
for Nino.
about
I mean,
it.
it was a very high variance way for Dan to play his hand too, but
Yep.
Nino's play was far more shocking.
Yeah. So Digital Dan and Nino get close.
Oh, Brian.
Well, that's a good one for Dan, having the worst session of his poker time life. Now he's not having that bad of a session anymore.
Yeah. He floats on up a bit. Nino floats on down. They pretty much met in the middle of the ocean.
I mean, I'm in shock right now, and I think the whole table is you can.
Yeah.
They're
It's like
kind of
silent.
They're silent. Like, what just happened?
That was crazy. Crazy.
Why did Nino
What
call?
a hand.
Why did Nino call?
I think he was just. He said he was just losing all day, and I think he just got sick of it. You know, he just wanted to put the chips.
He
in
wasn't
and-
losing. He was up before that.
Maybe he's doing the Jonathan Levy method of keeping track, where it's number of pots, not size
Maybe.
of pots, because I don't know. Maybe he was losing before he got here.
All right. Well, so we got another
Yeah.
hand here. A flush draw
Hearts
against
for Joe and
eights.
I didn't try to get sucked out. I was trying to fucking just take it there. On the fall.
That's 80.
Tough spot for Chris here. Can't beat a queen. Can't beat a 6.
I think you still have to call at least once against Joe.
You do. It just future aggression really sucks.
Yep.
Call.
I'm not mad at you, Dan. Nice hand. I wish I can suck out like that good. I want you to get 2 pairs.
I know.
You 2
I was
fucking
not
pairs,
wanting
you
to
can-
pair. Once
Oh,
I
yeah,
saw
I
your
forgot.
hand.
What are you coming for?
It's a bad card for Joe, and he starts to give up here.
Because I was ahead.
Like, you were ahead on the flop?
Yeah.
With 1 pair? With $600? Yeah, I guess you were. I played dumb, right?
We both had a gut shot. I had a pair.
We both had a gut shot?
175.
Both had a gut shot.
I slow played it like I really want to hit a gut shot or anything else. I see.
Some discussion going on between Dan and Nino here.
Yeah.
If it was Joe, I wouldn't even mind, but you? For $600 call?
I didn't call. I stand by the fact that I didn't
I
call.
raised you.
Right.
600. If you ship it all in, you know I'm gonna call you.
That's good.
It's not like you're gonna scare me off the flop when I make it 600.
Nino's saying he would not fold once he makes it 600.
Yeah.
By the way, he made it 500.
Yeah.
But it was 1.9 total. He had a gut shot.
I recommend that.
Yep.
Fold.
How'd you do in Vegas for you and Joe and that shitty guy? Like,
I didn't play.
Oh yeah.
I was there for March Madness.
Oh, you do?
On March Madness, nothing. I'm there to watch it with my friends.
That's good.
I don't think these guys love each other.
There's a lot of tension right now.
Yeah, I feel tense.
Basketball all year. I'm not gonna bet on. I don't do minus. I try not to do minus EV except here.
I didn't watch any college basketball all year, but I bet on a lot of those games.
That's what people do. I don't advocate this.
All right, maybe we've maybe the storm has passed at this point.
Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
Nino's clearly not very happy.
You know, limps with the 4 deuce. He was limping with a lot of hands before, so it's hard to know if this has anything to do with the Jack 3 hand.
I still am just flabbergasted. I don't understand what happened in that hand.
I mean, Dan shoving was pretty shocking.
It was, but we
thought
figured
it was possible,
made
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I know.
At least like that's one option. It's a very high variance option.
Sure.
It looks like there's a 3-bet here from
Yeah.
Chris with the 7-8 suited, and I think it's just going to work.
I don't see how it was going to call with King 10 off. I don't.
What was it?
You know my hand, right? Right? You got 5 seconds. Can I take him out my hand? Oh, so good.
Well, now Nino's being a little rude to the dealer. I think he's just in a bad mood after that hand.
Yeah, I think he's just upset.
Second call from restaurant shit.
I can understand. He just lost like $1,900 in a hand.
Yeah.
People get salty.
Some people do get quite salty.
Yep.
Seen much worse.
Yep. Seen better, seen worse.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm sure the dealers out here who are watching are like, yeah, we've lived that life.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
all had that happen, right?
I've heard some good dealer stories. Or bad dealer stories, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Oh,
Nino was left with 435 in front of him.
Now 425.
Could have anything here, limping.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, it was 4 deuce last time, right? So it feels like pretty much any 2 cards are in play.
4 players.
And that's a Joe flops a gutter and an over, much like Nino had before. Digital Dan with a pair and a gutter. Elwood with middle pair. And Nino with anything.
Joe's going to lead.
No one will know what it stands
Joe does have the backdoor flush draw as well.
Nino has a hand that is worth calling, in his opinion.
Yep.
Don't know what it is.
I hope so.
Elwood's probably got to overcall here. And then Dan,
For only 40. Yeah. Dan could really call for 40.
yeah,
Try and spike it.
it's tough to get paid if he hits a straight.
Or a set.
Yep.
That is the downside.
Let's do the honor.
Another diamond for
Ooh.
Joe. Oh, and we see Nino has queen deuce of diamonds.
And
This,
Elwood is now open-ended.
wow, that's quite a card.
What a card.
Nino checks. Nino could have bet that once Joe checked. Elwood's going to be the guy who bets.
That is really an insane card. By the way, Joe is now double gutted. Also.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's an insane card.
Joe could really raise.
I think whenever I've heard your name, the person has said your entire
It's a call.
which is a little bit
Nino with pair and the flush draw. He's going to call, understandably, as well.
well, okay. No,
Here we go. Nino's got less than a pot left.
A diamond would be a double up for Nino here. It is
No
not a
diamond.
diamond. Elwood's got the best hand still, but it's going to be really hard for him to know that. Hopefully, for his sake, it gets checked to him and he can just check back.
Yeah, if any of these guys decide to bluff, they may just take it down. But they don't.
No, and I can't see Elwood betting.
Oh, it turns over what is going to be the winner. That's some serious value Zach got on the turn there, considering his
Yeah.
hand and that he got called in 2 spots.
And then, by the way, the top card on the flop paired, and he still gets to win.
That's right. That's right. At least he was already losing to
And
that
look at
card. He
this.
was already losing to that
So
card. at
Joe
least.
is winning the VPIP war, but he is not raising very often. You can see he's playing a
Yeah.
bit loose passive.
Nino, though, is at 2%.
Yeah.
So that's even less than
El-
11%.
Elwood, who was, in our previous sessions, we've had him among the tightest players, has the highest PFR and the second highest VPIP. He's Playing aggressive, good poker.
He really is. He's playing great poker. I mean, he's this entire 4 hours or 3.5 hours so far, I guess it's been. It's sort of been like a masterclass in 5-10 from Zach Elwood. I mean, he's just played so well.
It's been a huge difference from the other sessions. he
Really.
played.
Where earlier on, I think some people might characterize his play as sort of like weak, careful, overly careful, scared, and it's been the opposite this time.
Yeah,
he's really showing up.
He's picked some spots really well, made some really good bluffs.
Yeah. Open ender for Wonka and top pair for Joe.
Who did voluntarily put money in the pot pre-flop with that hand.
Yes, he did. But here he is donking, but donking with top pair this time. So his donks have got all different sorts of value.
Almost a pot-sized donk.
There's no way Wonka's folding, right? There's like
No.
no chance. It's just raise or call. He's going to call.
Call?
Elwood lets it go.
It's going to be relatively disguised if Wonka hits this open ender.
Especially if it's the 5, but
Joe's going to keep betting.
let's see how he sizes it. Oh, he sizes it kind of big, 150.
I guess he's hoping that Wonka has a 7 that can keep calling because all the 8s are better, obviously.
Well, he's also trying to charge this straight draws, which is not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Queen should not matter. Wonka almost never has a queen here. Like
He is in the big blind. He has some queen 2, queen 7, queen 8 hands.
Okay, you're right. He has a few queens because of that. If Wonka calls here, he's got to be doing it with the intention of taking the pot away on the river.
Yeah,
at
he's
least
not
some of the
calling
time.
just for his equity against Joe's range.
Right. He's not going to check it back.
He thinks the queen is likely to be a card that Joe doesn't like.
Well, that card Joe should hate.
Yep, 9-10 gets there.
Yeah, and that's really the only hand you should be worried about. Actually, like there's not really any other jack. I guess jack 8, but you were losing to that anyway. So Joe checks twice.
You should be worried about it if Wonka bets.
Right. But that's because you'd be worried about 9-10 more than anything else. So Wonka really has to bet here, right?
You'd be worried about queen 8, queen deuce, queen 7, jack 8,
Okay.
jack 7.
Yeah. Again,
So there's
jack 8
quite a
already
few.
had you though.
It did, but I'm saying if you are worried, am I ahead or not?
yeah.
Once Wonka bets, those
Right.
are the hands you're worried about.
Sure, that's fair. That's the value. Wonka really has to bet this. I think a solid like $325 makes sense. The overcards came. You can rep them. You did call on the turn. Joe rarely has better than one pair here,
Really thinking it through.
or at least pretending to. Huh, seems like he is really thinking here.
Yeah. 750. Oh,
Wow.
750 goes for the big overbet. This is cool.
That was not expected. Look at Joe. Wonka's absolutely trying to blow Joe off of a good 8.
Yeah.
At a minimum.
I was going to snap call you.
Look at that. That's
No action on the overbet, though.
music to Wonka's ears. I was going to snap call you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Validates his choice of overbet for sure.
If it's true. If it's true. I don't know if I really buy it, but you got to love it when you do that with 9 high.
I'm sure Wonka's feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I'd
at
be
this
feeling
moment.
pretty good. $750. That's a surprising number from Wonka. Worked like a champ.
Oh.
Oh, Nino with a nice hand here, ace
He's going to
king.
limp this one too. Okay, you know what? He's limping a lot.
Hoping for a raise, I assume.
I assume he's going to be just putting in a big re-raise if someone raises, but he's down to one player left.
Oh, Luca probably will raise,
Oh,
actually.
this is going to work probably.
Would have worked anyway, I think, if Nino had raised initially.
Probably, but he got what he wanted.
And he snap moves in.
Fold, fold.
I can't imagine Luca's going to fold ace jack here.
Not against what Nino seems to be railing a little bit, so seems like you got to kind of just put it in.
I mean, you're rarely up against a worse ace, but a lot of flips. Not too much ace king. He calls.
Bad news.
Nino gets the great news.
I'll watch your aces. How about that?
Good luck.
I know I need it.
Backdoor clubs for Luca. Nope.
And now some chop outs.
But Nino gets to win it all.
Circle clubs.
370.
Nino gets a much-needed double up there.
And it looks like he had 370, not 320 initially. So
I think it was 320 after 320 more to Luca, right?
I see.
Something like that. That doesn't sound right either. But
No.
anyway, whatever it was.
Nino might have a bit more chips than
Yeah.
the screen displays. It's possible.
But okay, we heard. He just got his stack was 370, so now he's got like 760 or something like that. 770.
Yeah.
Boy, did Nino need that.
Well, it's a cash game, not a tournament, so not as much as if it were a tournament, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just like inside you can relax a little bit, right?
No, it says that Elwood's under the gun. That is incorrect. We just saw Nino limp from under the gun. So we're gonna have to fire.
Jimothy, whatever his name is, who cares?
It's not Jimothy. I don't know what his name. I didn't take
Bill,
the time. I didn't take the time to
Jimothy,
learn this one's name.
Jim, Tim, Tabby, Tabitha. I don't know what his name is.
You're just all over the place, huh?
I'm going with Jimothy. It's a good name.
All right, so Nino limped to 6'5".
Okay, they see that our intern fixed that. Took a while,
I mean, took longer than it should. We've had worse interns.
without question, and worse named interns probably.
I don't think so. Well, I don't know, because
Okay, well,
the actual name of the intern is unknown.
let's focus on what just happened here. Wheel just raised from the big blind, and Nino insta-called $50 more with 6-5 off.
Yeah, Dan's going to set mine here. Joe's going to play an unknown hand, and Wonka's going to be forced to set mine too.
I mean, unless Wonka wants to put in a re-raise, it's set mine. Or it's at least call. He gets to be on the button. That's nice.
Pretty big pot now. 305 pre-flop.
Yep.
That is a pretty flop, but nobody loves it unless
Joe might love it.
Joe might love it.
Nino may have the best spade.
He
As
might.
of right now, he does. Wheel's laughing it up.
He was trying to figure out if he had the ace of spades,
Yeah,
I think.
right
and-
color, wrong shape there, Wheel. He checks. The ace of spades is such a good card to have right now.
Yeah.
The nut draw. But
Nino's taking some time here. Is he going to try to bluff? No,
No, he
it looks like
checks.
he already checked.
Check.
I ain't falling for all these shenanigans.
Well, I don't know. He has a king.
there's the 8. That doesn't help anyone. Wheel, we think, still has the best hand.
Yeah.
Joe could have him.
Joe could have a queen.
Yep. Joe, I think, would probably bet his queen, though. I think Wheel's got the best hand.
Looks like Nino's going to bluff here. And if Joe doesn't have anything, it's going to work, and Joe doesn't.
Well, I mean, Wheel can absolutely call with ace-jack.
I mean, it's
once
going to...
everyone else folds.
Yeah, he can, but you could also really fold.
Sure.
It's a pretty bad board for your hand when Nino bets into 4 players. I think it's a completely legitimate, reasonable fold. It's a nice bluff by Nino.
Oh, he lets him look at one card, and he looked at the right one from
Yeah.
Nino's point of view.
Probably not good.
Now it looks like he flopped a flush.
It does.
Things have a king as well.
All right, nice little steal there by Nino. I guess it was
Yeah.
just a semi-bluff with the 5
I
of
mean,
spades.
I don't think in his mind it was a semi-bluff.
Joe has surpassed Digital Dan now. As the,
in the way you don't want to surpass.
yeah, as the biggest
Digital
loser.
Dan.
But of course, on that TV show, that's a good thing to be the biggest loser. Not this show.
Fold. Fold.
Joe, you gonna play? No, he lets
Joe
one go.
showing a little discipline, little restraint. Oh, by the way, limping 8s.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He leads the league in PFR percentage, but limps 8s.
Maybe he thought Nino would raise out of the big blind a lot.
Maybe.
Nino back to 1K, by the way, on the strength of those
Wow.
2 hands he just played.
Check. Check.
Elwood's gonna have to bet this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get called by Wheel.
Wheel does call it, and so did you.
Thanks.
Nice job.
I needed that acknowledgement.
Sure. That's not a great card for anyone.
Nobody's supposed to have a lone 10, though.
Nope. If Wheel checks again, I think we're going to see a bet from Elwood. Oh, Wheel thought about it. least pretended to think about it. He does that, though.
I think he's doing the please don't bet thing.
Yeah, I think so.
He's going to check. Watch this. Watch this, guys. He's going to check.
It'd be really weird to not check. And Elwood just checks it right back and thinks he's losing. So much for our tells expert.
Yeah. Did you guys see the way Wheel did that? If you watch the way he did that and you ever get the chance to play with Wheel, look for that. That's the please don't bet. The exact way he did that, then the way he kind of looked at Elwood at when he checks. Every time. It's the please don't bet.
I mean, now that you've told everyone, including Wheel, about it, I'm not so sure it'll be every.
I don't know. I've mentioned it like 75 times, and he still does it. So we'll see.
Good times. Here's Chris, still wearing the Cat NBA shirt. Still looking great in the Cat NBA shirt. That shirt is amazing.
Yeah.
This is the most fashionable I think this table's ever been.
That's saying a lot.
Luca's doing his best. Luca and Wheel are doing their best to bring the table down fashion-wise, but the rest of the table is just doing too well. Just Elwood with that Portland chic.
It looks like Milan over here.
Exactly. Fashion Week in New York City.
Milan is just associated with fashion, and I know nothing else about it. Do you?
Milan, I mean, it's in Italy, right?
Yeah.
I know that.
There's Milano cookies.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. Is that?
I don't think that's
from
related.
Italy?
I don't think that's at all related.
It might be.
It might be.
And my wife, they're not.
I could go for one of those cookies. Those are
Yeah,
good.
they're not that good.
Well, I really want it.
What kind of cookie do you want?
Oreo. Oh, actually, you know what I really want is Vienna fingers. I don't even know if I've been looking for those. I don't think they make them anymore, but those were the best.
I have no idea what that is.
They're like these. They're like vanilla Oreos, except better than what vanilla Oreos would be.
Okay.
They've been around forever, but I don't know if they. I don't think they make them anymore.
I want like a fresh baked chocolate chip cookie.
So boring.
Oh, it's so good though.
So boring. All right.
You hate
Nino's
America.
got the best hand.
You clearly hate America.
America can go below. Joe continues.
Nino's not giving up.
Well,
Joe doesn't like
the turn
that.
should be interesting, especially a brick turn. Joe does check. Pretty reasonable for Nino to bet here.
Yeah, he floated. You can bluff Joe off of some pocket pairs.
Yeah, exactly. If Joe has like 2 7s, it's not great. He might call, but not a great spot. Nino also makes it so he won't get bluffed now on the river.
Yeah. So
Some value in
Nino's
that, too.
winning most of the hands he plays ever since that catastrophic hand against Digital Dan.
Yeah. He went from what? He had like $330.
Something like that, yeah.
He's over 1,000, so he's still got some climbing to do, but
Whatever that is.
it's going back up the mountain. I mean, Wonka with those sunglasses. I don't know.
Why isn't he wearing them?
What the hell?
What's wrong? I think they're cool.
They're cool.
So what? Why are you being weird?
I just don't like them wearing them up like that. It's a poker game, not a what should I say here? Not a
whorehouse. Cover your shame, Wonka.
Right on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Luca makes it 55 with the King Jack.
Joe
calls with the 10-5.
Go ahead and limp call under the gun with the 10-5 suited.
Diamonds would be a problem. Luca flops so much better than everyone else.
This is a type of decision by Joe, which is probably why Batiste just stared at Joe in that story.
Perhaps.
It's 105? Oh, I'm sorry, it's 80.
Do you still want to see Pogo Joust?
Oh, yeah. Really find it.
$80 from Luca. Nino can't do anything about it, and I don't think Joe can either.
Could just had the best hand on every street.
Yeah. Tell him, Sue.
Sometimes poker is just that easy.
Yep. It's nice when it is. It's nice to just flop top pair, bet, not have hard decisions. Life is good.
It's so weird how easy poker can seem sometimes and how hard it can seem sometimes just based on how you're running at any given time.
Absolutely.
It's good. It's well made, man. I was impressed.
It's a weird game.
Yeah.
Pogo Joust.
How long ago did it?
Wonka's having quite a good session here. 3.7K in front of him.
Yep. This has been, I think, my favorite session we've ever had on Poker Time these last 4 hours, the way the guys have played.
It's been fun.
Yeah, they've really... I know we're starting to get close to wrap it up, but these guys have gone after each other in the way I don't think we've ever seen on this show. More bluffs, more like thoughtful bluffs on like turns and rivers.
Yeah.
We saw Chris 4-bet pre with ace-6 suited from under the gun.
And then show the 6.
Show the 6. Like, not that we've never seen that, but we rarely see that kind of stuff, and we've seen the highest concentration of that these last 4 hours. If you guys have missed the earlier episodes, I would highly recommend watching them if you're enjoying this, because it's actually they're playing harder against each other actually in earlier episodes.
I don't know if it was episode 2 or 3, but there was also that hand where Elwood just made a great verbal read on Nino. Where folded a hand that he should always call
folded top
based on theory, but he is the verbal tells expert maybe of the world, and so he used that to his advantage and immediately used the data.
We also saw him make a play against Digital Dan.
Hold on. Nino has queen 5 off, and he just made $120.
What?
With no, it's not a 3-bet.
What?
That's just an open.
What?
Okay, so he made $15.
He was limping his entire range. He's got a 2% PFR. Pre-flop raise percentage. What?
That was
happening.
Crazy.
You know, you just don't know what's happening with some players, and that's both a strength and weakness, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not understanding what people are doing makes it harder to play against them. But sometimes it also makes it easier to play against them, in fairness. You're just like, well, I don't know what he's doing, so I'm going to just follow basic stuff.
I think if anybody's going to 12x it consistently in any sort of cash game, it's pretty easy to play against.
I mean, they could have they could range themselves perfectly, but you would think if they're doing that, then they would be 3xing it and ranging themselves, or 4xing it and ranging themselves perfectly, right? The ability to do that. Oh, Nino's got 2 6s, and this time he makes it.
I think it was 80 this time. Still
80.
Still really big, but it doesn't feel like as big of a deal after he made it 120 with queen 5.
He has made it 60 once also.
So was Joe.
Yep. See if anyone has anything this time.
Nino's playing this like he's the chip leader at a final table with big money jumps.
Yep.
Joust. That's right. Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to play 4 more hands.
Well, Nino wins again. Up to 1.1K now. You know, 7 more of those will be up to 1.2K.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, if they made it,
They're going to edit that out.
if they made it this deep into the session, they deserve to know about Jonathan Levy's shining silver screen performance in Pogo Joust.
Just leave that one there for you guys.
It's on Vimeo.
Or he was just a choo-choo train. A really creepy anthropomorphized choo-choo train. Wow.
See, everybody loves that ad.
You know how in the World Series of Poker sometimes people are like talk to Norman Chad even though he's not there? I feel like that's what's happening. It's great. Phil Hellmuth will do that sometimes.
And then he'll get insurance from Norman Chad.
You mean just like regular insurance or like for the hand?
For the hand.
I thought you meant just like car insurance or home.
There was that final table one time where he kept getting insurance from Phil Ivey at just horrific prices for him.
Yeah, that's right. Not a World Series event, but yes, absolutely.
I think it was a World Series event.
Was it really?
There was one where Phil Ivey was doing it in high stakes poker.
Yeah.
But Phil was doing it in a World Series event when Phil Ivey was just watching on the side.
Oh. Oh, I do remember that. You're right.
Anyway,
Digital Dan flop stop pair.
Yep. Nobody else has anything. I guess
Luca's got middle pair.
Yeah, and Joe's got ambition and a 4.
Well, ambition is something. He has position as well. Position, ambition, and a whole lot of wishing.
Nice.
Just made that one up too. You're welcome.
It's like a country western music song you just sang.
So here's Luca. Luca's got, it's only $40, but he's going to be out of position with middle pair and not a whole lot of opportunity to improve, so he just lets it go.
I like the fold.
I think it's reasonable. He's on the button. He probably has to call.
Well, Joe has now got a straight draw.
Yep. Luca would have a straight draw as well, of course, but he's out. Digital Dan checks. It does make a few 2-pair combos for Joe.
And it makes a couple straights. Unlikely straights.
That's a pretty safe card from Digital Dan's point of view. Joe's usually going to bet clubs on the turn if he has it.
There's not a ton of value in betting, actually.
I mean, to get called by worse hands.
Which ones?
A 7, an ace.
I don't feel like a 7's going to call too often, and most of the aces are better than yours.
Well, he ends up getting value by check calling.
Yep. Seems like the right play to me.
I mean, I guess Dan's trying to get called by, trying to get hearts to bluff is what he's really doing, right?
Yeah. And I really don't think there's a ton of worse hands that will call him on that river.
I mean, Joe's calling with every ace, right?
Which are mostly better than ace 10 on that board.
I mean, Joe doesn't have ace king. He doesn't really have very much ace queen.
But
right?
I mean, like, okay, but there's not many that aren't 2-pair that are lower than ace 10.
I think there's a fair amount, though. Also, Joe doesn't often have that many of those aces up because he would have shown up with like aggression at some point.
Joe's
before.
gonna bet those, by the way. Anyway, when Dan checks, knowing Joe.
The 2 pair hands.
No,
Yeah.
and-
the ace.
and just the ace.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Plus his bluffs. I feel like checking is a better play.
Yeah, if he's gonna bet the aces anyway, which he probably is, then
Except for Dan. I don't think Dan.
then you're right. Then checking's better.
I don't deserve anything.
Fold.
No, it might be a little less.
Wonka folds the Nino special.
Fold.
Luca gonna isolate the incredibly wide range of Joe's limping. Looks like Nino's gotten in there with the king 10.
I'm gonna need some. Can I get some help?
King high board would be pretty good for Luca to keep chipping up. Sorry,
Nino.
that's Nino.
Yeah.
A king high board, all diamonds might be good for Luca. Hey, there's a king high board.
It is.
How do I know?
I don't know. You're a genius.
I am a genius.
It's also got a 9 on it, by the way.
yeah.
So Luca's probably gonna c-bet here. Get called in 2 spots. No,
he
checks
just
it.
checks. Super safe card for everybody.
Nino's gonna start getting value. Joe can't fold.
No way.
Once Joe calls, Luca could either call or fold. I don't know what he's supposed to do.
I don't know either. Oh, is Joe raising?
Raise 250.
Yep.
That I am surprised by.
Joe thinks he has the best hand.
Nino
And-
calls easily.
Yeah.
This
That should really scare Joe into not putting any more money in unless he hits an 8 or a king, I guess. If he hits a king, maybe he'll bet again. But the way that call happened,
It's a 10. I think Nino should lead.
Raise all in.
Oh, he does.
he leads.
Goes
But he
all
bets
in.
too much.
Yeah, I don't know if Joe can call because, well, I guess Nino has missed flush draws.
I mean, Joe has like some 2 pair hands and stuff too, right? Like he raised the turn.
Yeah, so I actually don't hate the shove.
No, me either. Me
It's
either.
just that I don't know if Joe can call with this hand.
10 seconds.
I mean, what you need Nino to be bet calling with the draw and then
3-5.
be going all in when it misses.
Yeah, perhaps 3-5. Club draws are a bit less likely because of the flop action, although maybe he was going for a check raise on the flop, so I guess he still could have flush draws.
Just don't know how often Nino's really going to take this line with a missed draw.
I mean, we saw him go kind of bonkers with the jack-3, and that's probably going through Joe's head.
That is a great point. And what if he had like 10-9? Might he go all in with like 10-9 here? By the way, 10-9 beats you though, if you're
Yeah.
Joe, so it doesn't matter. And he
He
does
calls.
call.
Wow.
Well, the draws did miss at least.
And Nino might be all the way back now.
Yeah, that was huge. 2.2K in the pot.
Can you put those in here, Nino?
I think he is all the way back.
What a
think he's
monster.
profitable.
What a monster comeback for Nino. He kind of lost his mind for a second there, but he really just got it back.
Boy, he checks that river. It's possible Joe just checks it back, and instead Nino gets full max value. Not just max value, full max value. That's the best kind.
I really like the lead on the river. I think that's the right play.
Doesn't hit it, he wins.
It's a pretty good feeling in poker when you feel like you're having just a horrific session and then you turn it around.
Yeah.
6 through 15, right? The hard swallow.
Speaking of horrific sessions, now Joe's not having such
Joe's
a
now
good.
having the worst session of anyone,
Yeah.
money-wise.
Now you have some material for book number 4.
Looking at Dan with a hard swallow.
I want Joe to look at him twice.
I don't know.
Here, that's why. I had to do it that way.
That kind of sounds like deep throat.
You did have 2 pairs. You sucked out on me on the turn. You did.
Tuition just went up.
Hey, I like to break even after I get sucked up by Dan.
Nino is now up almost $500.
And Joe is now throwing the party.
Yeah.
He's brought the little hats,
He is now the dead whale.
the ice cream cake, fudgy, the dead whale ice cream cake.
You should go to a kid's party and bring a dead whale ice cream cake, just like with realistic decomposition. Like yeah.
What? It's not really a dead whale ice cream cake if it doesn't have good decomposition.
I mean, I go to a very specific baker because of the decomposition realism they're capable of.
And I need if it's a beached whale that's dead, I need there to be like little birds like
oh
pecking
yeah,
at
no,
it.
but I'm talking bottom of the ocean,
that's
like
a different
the
thing.
bottom feeders are feeding off of it
Sure.
type of
So
whale.
that's harder to make as a cake because things are floating.
Oh, it's much more expensive.
yeah, it's good.
But it's worth it. The kids know the difference.
That's why Dylan looks up to you, and he sucks too.
Dylan
I
looks up
get
to
it.
me? He really shouldn't.
Raise 75.
Luca gonna isolate Chris.
Everybody.
Chris is likely going to call here with the deuces.
Well, Nino calls,
Before wheel acts. We don't know what Nino has yet.
and it's an unknown 2 cards at this point. At some point, we probably will know.
Well, I have a time.
That's what made it 600. I don't want anybody catching anything there.
All right. Especially.
It says Joe's all in to call, but that's not right. Joe's got another like $700 back.
Does he?
Yeah, I just saw it. I think he pulled out 700.
Oh.
Is what happened, and it just hasn't been registered yet. You can see.
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You
black
can see
chips
it.
there.
I saw him do it before.
Okay.
All right, so we got deuces against King Jack against.
Something.
I'm gonna go 9-10. I'm going 9-10 because why not?
King Jack.
King Jack once
Very
again.
likely to be the best hand here. And 9-10 might pay it off. If 9-10 is, in fact, what Nino has. Although combinatorially, you take a little hit there with your guess.
I mean, 9-10 is what Nino has. So. And Luca now checks top pair. Well, he really hopes no one has a 5. But
Nino's going to bet $10.
okay, the min bet. Always going to be fun to watch how people respond to min bets. We saw LA doing this in earlier
I
sessions.
think Chris has to call.
I think he does. And
I
now
think-
I'm sorry. I think Luca's supposed to raise.
I think,
right?
yeah, Luca should respond to this like a check.
The problem with raising, of course, is you just often blow everyone off their hands. But it's a $10 bet. Like, who cares?
Just
like,
pretend it's a check.
yeah,
That's probably the
Just-
way to act about
I
it.
agree. Bet $150 or something, and it's fine. Just make it at 150 or 130. He is going to call. Look how happy Nino is.
Wonder what he has.
I don't know. Pretty safe
4.
river. Spades come in, I guess. Nino bets big here. It's not great. But if he checks, he does check. Okay, now
Luca must
you
go
have
for
to bet
value.
for value.
Yeah.
You just have to. There's no way you can.
Luca checks. The min bet must have
And
thrown
what
him
does
off.
Nino have?
Looks like at the worst
Ace
hand.
something. Ace X.
Ace
9.
He had a 9. Okay. Yeah, I think that was a mistake by Luca to check back there.
I'm really surprised he didn't take a shot. Maybe he just thinks it's really hard to get value, but he hasn't gotten any value the entire hand.
Yeah, I think
Gotta
the
go for
I think the
something.
min bet actually threw him off.
Yeah. Min bets throw me off too, man. They're
Yeah.
weird. They're weird.
Hear that? This is the last hand, but please stay in your seat until the hand is over.
The dealer has just announced this is the last hand.
Yes, indeed. Dealer Brittany with all the thumb rings and accoutrement. That's really all we ever see of her is that those thumb rings.
Sure.
Digital Dan's going to take his
leave.
leave. Yeah, he takes a loss, but it's not
And
as bad
Joe
as it was. Joe just wants to play one more hand. He's got more than 55. He's got like 755, just FYI.
I'm pretty sure he's locked it up now. The VPIP lead of all time.
Yeah. It's a guarantee.
And we can see financially what that has wrought. It has not been the best session for Joe.
Yeah. Nino decides to call on the button with Queen 6 off because, that's what you do. And Chris raised it up with the Queen 9 suited. He knows this is the last hand everyone wants to play type thing and try and take advantage of it. Wheel actually has something, though.
Yep. Nino does not.
That is correct.
Nino probably very happy to lock up a small win here
I would think so.
after what happened earlier just this hour.
Amazing how quickly he came back, really.
You know what I mean?
Just us.
Okay, third wheel.
Leave 1,000 here and then
Whole lot of nothing.
Back doors for everybody, but nothing's exciting.
They'd come get you.
It was a double chest.
Chris should probably just bet. Looks like he's going to.
50?
2 back doors here and an overcard for wheel and position. It's reasonable to call once. See what Chris does on the turn. They are deep as well.
I guess I have to ask Brian, right?
I know this well. I haven't played it in multiple weeks now, unfortunately.
Jiggly pockets.
Wheel giving it that Mr. Belvedere think. And now he's using a time card.
And is this just an LA? This is the last hand of the
I
session.
got to use
thing?
up all my time cards. I hope not. We're going to have to take away. Okay,
No,
he
he's
calls.
going to float.
This is real.
He's
He
floating.
puts the chips in.
Okay, cool.
Whole lot of nothing.
It's a spade, though, so
Yep.
this
Chris
is
picks
a,
up a gutter.
this is a card that Wheel should be repping.
I don't know what my favorite.
Chris checks.
I think Wheel wins this hand. I think this is where Wheel springs the plan, and it looks like he's doing it. I like this. Although he's
Sure.
betting pot. I don't
He's
know if he has
saying-
to bet that much.
He's trying to get Chris off at 10, I guess.
Usually I think of it as kind of a rookie thing.
Well, this is going to work, and Wheel's going to win the last hand, I think, unless Chris just goes bananas.
But I know.
No, he lets it go.
Yeah.
And that'll do it. Jimothy, I'm not going to learn your name because Jonathan told me your name was Jimothy. Oh, Wheel shows it. There it is. Thanks, Jimothy. Cumulative winnings here. Wonka, biggest winner. Joe, biggest loser.
No huge winners, but Joe is the biggest loser. And as we saw, Luca and Dan came back from a lot more down.
See you guys next time.